Hello everyone, welcome back to another interesting lesson on SQLAlchemy ORM, Object Relational Mapper. In this lesson we will learn how to perform CRUD operation on databases using SQLAlchemy ORM. So, what actually is an ORM? SQLAlchemy is a very popular library for working with relational databases. It uses two approaches for working with databases. 1. SQLAlchemy Core, and 2. SQLAlchemy ORM. SQLAlchemy Core is the foundational architecture of SQLAlchemy. It provides tools for connectivity to databases, handling queries and results, etc. On the other hand, SQLAlchemy ORM is built upon the core. It provides object relational mapping capabilities. Here, user-defined classes are mapped with database tables and other constructs for working with databases. In a nutshell, SQLAlchemy ORM is a high-level interface for interacting with databases using Python objects. It provides ways to define database models as Python classes. SQLAlchemy ORM deals with classes, inheritance, relationships, etc. We need not write SQL statements explicitly, it is handled by the ORM. Consider this example. Here is a pictorial representation of a database table, students. It has 3 columns, student_ID, name, and date of birth. Now consider this Python class, students. We will map the attributes of this class with the columns of the students table. The column student_ID of the table students will be mapped with the attribute student_ID of the class students. Similarly, the name column of the students table will be mapped with the attribute, name of the student's class, and so on. This way, the table, students, is mapped with the class, students. This is the basic concept of ORM, Object Relational Mapping. Now let's do some lab work. In this demonstration we will use a database named school. Initially the database has no tables. We will create tables programmatically using SQLAlchemy ORM. So, let's start. Here we will use a MySQL database. So, we are defining connection string for a MySQL database dialect with a MySQL connector. For details about the connection string, you may watch the lesson as linked in the I button. Now let's create a database engine with the above connection string. Now let's create a base class, base using the declarative_base function imported above. Now let's create a new derived class, student, that inherits the properties of the base class, base. The student class will have 4 properties: table name, student underscore ID, name, and date underscore of underscore birth. Student underscore ID is of integer type and it will be the primary key in the student table. Name is of string type and it will store up to 40 characters and it must not be null. Date underscore of underscore birth is of date data type, and it must not be null. So, this is our student class that will be mapped with a database table. As I said earlier that the table will be created programmatically, let's do it now using the base.metadata.create_all function. This is our complete code. If executed, a table will be created in the selected database. So, let's run the code and check the result. As we can see, a table named student is created in the SQL database. Let's describe the table. As we can see, the column of the table is as per the class definition. Isn't it interesting? So, we have created a table using SQLAlchemy successfully. Now let's move to our next topic, insertion of records in a database table. We need to import the SessionMaker function. As our mapped table already exists, we may disable this statement although it is not necessary. Actually, if the table already exists, the create_all function will not create the table again, so there is no risk of data loss. Now we need to create a session for interacting with the database. Let's create it. Now we will create a student object by instantiating the student class. This object will be inserted in the database as a new record. Here we are providing the name and date of birth of the student. Student ID will be generated by the DBMS, it is an auto-increment field in the table. The session.add function will insert the object student in the database table. The session.commit function will commit the insertion operation. This is our mapped class. Here a session is created. And here an object is created and inserted in the student table. Now let's run the code and check the result. Yes, a new record is found in the student table. Observe carefully, the columns are in accordance with the class object. So, this is the complete code for insertion of a single record. Now we will learn how to insert multiple records. Let's create a few objects first. Now we will use the session.add_all function for inserting all the objects in one go. Here, instead of a single object, we will pass a list of objects. Let's run the codes and check the result. As we can see, all the objects are inserted in the table as records. So interesting, isn't it? We have inserted a number of records in the table. Now we will learn how to write queries for searching these records. Let's delete these lines now. We no longer need these. Delete these lines too. These are not required anymore. The above statement will query the student table and filter out the record where name is Huang. If the record is found, it will return an object, otherwise it will return none. Let's display the properties of the object. As we can see, the record exists and the properties are shown on the terminal. What happens if no record is found? It throws an error message if it is not handled properly. Let's display the properties if the object really exists. Now let's check the following example. This query displays all the ID and name fields of the student table. Here the records are shown as a list of tuples. We may use a for loop for displaying these tuples in separate lines. We have just learned how to insert and how to query records. Now let's move to our next topic, how to update records. Let's first filter out a particular record. If the student and is found, we will update this record. Let's change the name to Anu. And the date of birth to 1st January 1985. Commit the changes. Now let's run the code and check the result. As we can see, we have successfully changed the name and date of birth of Anne. Now we will see how to delete a particular record. Suppose we want to delete this record of Zia. So, just filter out the record of Zia and create an object. Then simply delete this object. The record corresponding to this object will be deleted from the database table. Now let's run the code and check the result. See, the record for Zia no longer exists. So, our deletion operation is successful. Thus, we have completed all the 4 CRUD, that is, create, read, update, and delete operations using SQLAlchemy ORM. That's all for today's lesson. If you find this lesson helpful, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your valuable feedback is important for me and will help me improve the contents of the channel. Thanks for watching up to the end. Hope to see you in the next. Bye.